Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Auritas Insights. I am David Boeckle, the Chief Sales Officer at Auritas, and today I have the pleasure of hosting Deepak Sood.
David, nice to be here.
Deepak is one of the co-founders of Auritas. He's our CEO, really a strong, trusted advisor across the executive space for many global organizations on data and content management for SAP customers. So we're really looking forward to the conversation today, and I think it'll be very insightful.
Really looking forward to it.
So Deepak, I'm going to be a little bit, stingy here, right? Because I've got your time, and I want to keep you all to myself. I was hoping to pick your brain on a topic that I'm hearing a lot about in almost every customer interaction, and that's around content management, right? And specifically kind of unstructured content, right? So, customers are doing a good job typically with managing their structured data and linked documents, et cetera, but a lot of challenge and uncertainty around the unstructured piece. So, first I'd like to ask you, what do you see as the challenges, that customers are facing from an unstructured standpoint?
David, I'll take us some years behind or some decades behind that, ever since mainframes have come, we talked about the fact that, hey, paper is going away. Then PDFs came, and we said, well, in a way, still unstructured content is not going to be of as much value as the structured information. But the reality is, structured content is quite valuable for getting insight, especially with all the things coming around AI and all those things. But unstructured is equally important. And to manage unstructured content, there has not been a holistic approach that organizations have adopted. They are many times looking at unstructured content with multiple sources. Early on, it used to be like Iron Mountain. Then came, hey, filing cabinets. Then came, maybe we can have a small content management solution. Then came, maybe we can just use SharePoint and file system. But if you look at organizations with 100,000, 200,000 employees, even if you have an organization with 100 employees, somebody needs to see those documents, or multiple people needs to see the same document or collaborate on the same document, exchange or put multiple versions around it. This approach becomes even more complex the moment you say, hey, I want to see that same document or unstructured information from multiple applications. I want to access the same source of my information and be relevant all the time. And it is quite difficult. This problem has been there for quite some time, and it has not been solved. There were steps made towards it, and finally, there are now the solutions coming with solutions like OpenText Extended ECM, where a single platform can connect to multiple enterprise platforms, right, and access that information. I think this is where you will find that enterprise content management will say multiple applications getting to the same source, and its evolution with AI is really exciting, and I'll give you some more insights as we go forward.
Very interesting comment, something that struck a chord. So as you talk about the disparate systems, right, and accessing unstructured content, from different sources or through different applications, one of the things that I see quite a bit of today is, what do we have to address specific HR and kind of payroll related unstructured content? When you mentioned Extended ECM by OpenText, there's a purpose-built solution, Extended ECM for SuccessFactors.
Absolutely, right? Yes.
For those in the audience that are kind of wondering, why is there a purpose-built repository for HR and payroll type data as opposed to any other unstructured data?
Well, to start with, HR is highly sensitive information. You want to secure, sequester, however you want to address that. This is confidential information. This is something that you cannot share with the general masses. So yes, you can have an enterprise content management solution, but there are certain secrecy or privacy of the documents that you have to address. And number one, OpenText is able to address that part. But the second piece that becomes, again, it's a common problem, that has been addressed by OpenText is, well, what does an HR solution like SuccessFactors do? They have enrollment, they bring employee on board. You might have a resume that may or may not be directly into SuccessFactors. You want a third-party application from where you fetch the resume or the credentials or the background. You want to store that information for your personnel.
It's really everything from the recruit to retire process, right?
Absolutely.
And everything that comes along the way.
And that information has to be kept for an extended period of time. How do you want to retain that information? What kind of information should be retained for, say, 40 years, and what can be defensively disposed in 2 years?
Right.
Can a single application do that? Well, now OpenText Extended ECM has all those capabilities, and that's why it is being adopted quite well in the market space.
Yeah. So I see a lot of my customers, and you kind of alluded to this earlier, a lot of the customers are saying, well, you know what, I use SharePoint here, I use file systems here, I don't know which version of the document is right, I don't have controls over the document. And one of the most important pieces that I see is, how do we handle, the lifecycle management of those documents, right? So how does a solution like OpenText address the lifecycle management?
OpenText has its own module, which is DoD 5015.3 certified now, and it's a pretty high-level compliance. And there are multiple compliances globally that OpenText solution is compliant with. But this module is called records management. So this module has the capabilities of all the records management features that you can think of, starting from e-discovery to legal hold to dashboarding to approval to notification, to then purge the document and have a proper log to comply with all of those requirements. So it's a self-sufficient platform that can address all your content management needs, including the lifecycle management.
Yeah. So would it be safe to say that the comparison of SAP ILM for structured content is very similar to what OpenText Records Management offers for the unstructured?
True, I would say so. And I'll just extend that thought further. Now, you have a structured content where SAP ILM is managing the lifecycle. You have unstructured content where OpenText Records Management is managing their lifecycle. How do you connect the two together? There are connectivities, and this is what Auritas really does a great job, that we have built these configurations that you can keep the two platforms in sync. But then let's extend the thought further. You have these documents from SAP and that are stored into Extended ECM, but then Extended ECM is also storing documents that are from other applications or non-SAP applications.
Right.
How can you keep them all in sync? This is where our configuration, our abilities to get your retention policies from SAP, from OpenText, keep them in sync, and give a holistic approach for all your unstructured content come into play.
Yeah, and I think that's really powerful. It's a big challenge for sure. I'm going to pivot for a second, and as we talk about what we see in the market, we've been to a lot of events recently. From Sapphire to a lot of SAP events that they've asked us to participate in. We hear the word transformation, right? And transformation is on everybody's lips. So as you start to look at all of these pieces, and a customer that may be going down a journey or a path of transformation, whether that is a migration to adopt S4 Rise or something similar. When we look at that, when is the right time for a customer to look at content management in that transformation journey?
So some time ago, SAP came up with prep, move, and run. And prep being prepare your processes, prepare your applications that would be ready for the transformation journey to S4HANA. Then comes the move part, where you are actually moving the data, doing the migration and all. And finally, you have the run part, where you are all stabilized on Rise with SAP, for example, and you have all your peripheral applications, including Extended ECM, that is working like a charm and giving you a really productive insights for all your business processes. Extended ECM comes in phase one, prep phase of this whole transformation journey. Why? Because this is where you are itemizing all your SAP, non-SAP content and saying, this is how I'm going to structure it. This is how I'm going to build a taxonomy around it. This is how my users are going to be accessing it. When the move comes, you already have that document content along with you. And in the run phase, you are just now leveraging all the processing and the automation that you have done using these applications.
Yeah. No, and I think that's very powerful, and especially when you start to look at, that prep phase, right? So customers are looking to get lean, get their strategies, correct, get their processes adjusted, they're cleansing data, getting ready to move, from that old house to the new one, right?
That's true.
From that perspective. So a couple things that I would kind of call out here and welcome your feedback as well. When we talk about extended ECM, very robust in terms of capabilities and features. So we see customers that leverage it, as you mentioned, the enterprise taxonomies, the folder structures, the workspaces, the workflows that are built in, the ability to do full text search through documents, capture metadata. So we're now having, the content, but we're also having it in the context, right? I'll just point out that this is a solution extension for SAP, and for those of you in the audience, I think you're familiar with the Solution Extension Program, but it's essentially kind of a co-developed software, along with SAP, aligned to the SAP roadmap, sold by SAP, and supported by SAP as part of your support agreement. Right. So, are there any key takeaways that you would like to add to the audience?
I would say this is a really powerful platform, and it's a very flexible platform. Well, with that, you have to look at the flip side. If you do not configure this platform right, I can give you countless examples where you would not be happy with the outcome. So it is critical that you look into it from an eye of, hey, I have my requirements as of today that are behaving this way. Here are my future requirements. How can I address it with the company who has handled this for decades? Not only for years, but for decades. Because I'm going to extend the thought a little bit further. Consider the fact that you are a manufacturing organization. You are manufacturing and collaborating your product design with your partners. Well, guess what? Extended ECM has a customized solutions called the engineering document management in it.
Right.
And it has the concept of handling compound documents. It has the ability to do collaborations with your business partners, whether they are inside your network or outside your network. But we have seen countless number of times, if you do not know the process and the capabilities of extended ECM, how it puts together, it can be a big challenge for an organization. So my suggestion on this piece is, you got an amazing platform with SAP. You got an amazing platform with extended ECM. You need to have a really qualified partner who can put those two solutions together to make it work successfully.
Yeah, because many times we see customers that say, this is how I do it today. I'm going to buy a new piece of enabling technology, but I want to do it the same way that I'm doing it.
Right.
And we all know that is not the recipe for success, right?
Exactly right.
So what we really want to do is help them to establish, a best practice process first, leveraging this, the enabling technology. And I think that's where we really shine, right? So at Auritas, we're experts in SAP, we're experts in OpenText, and we bridge that gap between the two technologies and platforms.
Exactly right.
So, I want to thank you so much for being here today.
No, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate it as well. And for those of you that are watching, thank you for tuning in. And we look forward to hosting you again on the next episode of Auritas Insights.